Hey guys, so for this demo, I'm just going to go over quickly how to use some of the things that you probably already have around your house to make your own natural paint, because that's what we're doing for this project. So I have some spinach here that's been soaked in boiling water for a few minutes. Then I mashed it up and I strained it. There's some turmeric powder with some water. There are some frozen blueberries that I had that I mashed and I strained. Here is some smoked paprika spice that I had. I mixed it with a little bit of water. This is a really strong coffee / espresso here. This is hibiscus tea that I made extra strong. This right here is cacao powder that I mixed with a little bit of water, and then Earl Grey tea right here. So basically what you need is just some paper, and I'm working on just regular printer paper. I have some basic brushes, nothing special, just from the dollar store. You'll need a little bit of water and maybe a paper towel or two for this. So I'm just gonna start in a sec. So I just started off with my spinach water, and you'll notice right away that it's not a very strong color. So for this, what you will probably have to do is wait for a coat of it to dry and then layer it again to give it a stronger look. At least that's the hope. So I'll wash out my brush, tap it clean. There's a little bit of turmeric here. So this gives me a little bit more of a bright color, but same thing, not as vibrant as I was hoping for. So you'll probably have to layer this one as well if you want something that's a little bit more vibrant. Make sure you clean out your brush really well in between your different colors. Next one is the blueberries. You'll notice because we're working with natural ingredients from the kitchen, you may get like little bits and pieces of what fell through the strainer. Blueberries, a little bit of a disappointment. Not a lot of color in that one. It might be nice if you layer it. Smoked paprika is next. This is more of like a burnt type of orange, quite nice, but once again, kind of grainy, which is fine for this project. Some coffee here. Nice brown. This is my hibiscus tea. Nice pink. Once it soaks into the printer paper, it does give off a different color, so we may have to wait for these to dry completely to see really what they're going to look like. We don't have the luxury of using true watercolor paper like we would in class, so we're just gonna make do with what we have. Cacao powder. This is a little bit more rich, I would say, of the colors. And then finally the Earl Grey, and this is clearly the lightest of all of them. So I would say play around with a few different ingredients, what you have, unless you know right away what you're set on and what kind of color scheme you want to go with. Any color scheme is fine. We studied them in class. They're on my website. If you want to do monochromatic, that's fine with me. That's the one where you choose one color with its tints and its shades. And to create a tint, you would basically just water it down since we're not using white paint. And to make it darker, to make a shade, you would just use more of a concentrated amount of that pigment over top of it. So you would layer it, letting it dry in between layers. You could do an analogous color scheme, so that's when you have different colors of the same family. So you can have like different shades of red or different shades of like yellows and oranges or different browns or whatnot all together. So monochromatic, analogous, or really you can go with any color scheme you like. So if you want to mix your green with your yellow and your red in your picture and try to make it a little bit more true to life, that's fine with me as well. So kind of just do what you can, whatever you're feeling in the moment. Hey guys, so something else that would be also pretty beneficial to try before you actually work on your rough copy and even your good copy is to practice shading and blending, so creating a value scale with some of these pigments. So what you would do is go from dark to light. So I'll start with my yellow because that's pretty easy to see. So to make anything dark, you would just use a more concentrated amount, and to blend it out, you would just kind of spread whatever is there already across your sheet, or you could even just use a clean paintbrush to spread some of that pigment. So notice how it's pretty vibrant here. So we would consider this to be like the dark part, and then it gradually gets lighter and lighter. So if you want to make it even darker, you would just use more concentrated amounts of it. And make sure that you always kind of tap your paintbrush off on the edge of your cup or whatever you're using so that you don't have like huge puddles of this paint everywhere. So there's one example. Let's try maybe this one. So same thing, you just kind of spread it out. Use more to make it darker. And I could even blend two different colors together. Like let's say I want that red or that purple now to be turning into more of like an orange and then a yellow. So I can take my turmeric and I can mix it going backwards. And then so you do have the option of blending different colors together if you're not using a monochromatic color scheme. So something like that, or like a brown into the yellow, or like a green into the yellow. Just keep in mind that if you're blending colors like complementary colors, which are the opposites, so yellow and purple, green and red, and blue and orange, they could create a brown in the middle. So if that's not something that you're going for, maybe you want to stay away from that. I can try my green. And then maybe mixing that into more of my yellow. So you can create more of like a lime green in the middle. Or something like my coffee. Spreading that out until it just kind of like disappears into more of like my orange and my burnt brown, mixing those two together as well. Just try not to overwork your paper too much because you don't want to loosen the pigments and the fibers of the paper and create any tears or holes. I'm using printer paper, but if you happen to have any better quality paper, like even Bristol board, you can feel free to use that. Just use the matte side, not the shiny side, so that it actually absorbs into your paper. This is what my original page looked like after drying, so I'm just going to add another layer to see if it does in fact give it a more vibrant color. And I'm just going to cover up half of my little blob, and then we'll see if there's a difference after it dries. Mind you, you could make your pigments a little bit more concentrated. Maybe I didn't use enough spinach, who knows? There's my turmeric one. This one I kind of like. It's hard to see any difference here while it's wet. Blueberries. It looks kind of like a purpley red when it's wet, but it almost looks green when it dries, not sure. Okay. Smoked paprika. My coffee. My hibiscus tea, which actually looks blue. So it goes on pink, like a pinkish red, but it dries blue. So if you don't have any blue, oh, another thing I forgot to tell you guys, if you have food coloring, and you might because you might have just been painting Easter eggs, feel free to use those as well. That way you don't have to struggle. And there's my cacao powder. This one I have a feeling you can get pretty dark with. And then Earl Grey tea. So it's just more of a neutral light yellow. Okay, and I'll post a pic of what that looks like after it dries again.